All right, we should be live. Testing, testing. All right, we're good. Gonna have to cut stream like 15 minutes early today. I do have an eye appointment I gotta get to. And because I moved out into the boonies, I gotta drive like 45 minutes to get there, so. What's going on, Alan? But we should be okay to stream until like 3:45. Get almost a full stream in. Perfect bounce on ES off that 44.25 level so far. Beautiful close, actually. That 30-minute close on ES is really clean. Perfect dragonfly down here. NASDAQ also has a good close. Q still has support from the 200 EMA on the 1 hour below you, but SPY already lost that EMA a little while ago. SPY is sitting perfectly on that gap fill back at 443.40. Was there a gap on Q's at that same level? No, we had a gap a little higher at 376, filled that. Next gap on Q's is not until 368.
Hassan doesn't stop.
Nope, straight up.
Recession proof, straight up.
For you guys just coming in, we did get our newsletter fully situated. I'll send you guys a link in stream. If you guys would like to sign up to our newsletter, it's 100% free as always. Check that out. We did post our first issue today as well. Probably have another issue coming out either Friday or Sunday. It's going to be mainly focused on Bitcoin and crypto because this issue was mainly on equities. We'll probably have a little bit of equities in there, but it's going to be mainly focused on like Bitcoin levels and whatnot, what's going on in Bitcoin. Bitcoin actually had a pretty good day today. Had almost like 4.5% on the open. We're down to like 3.5 now, but daily doesn't look too bad. Really nice confirmation from that little wick that we saw yesterday. Came down to wick the VWAP, bounced back up, and then we have a pretty nice engulfing candle today. So not bad, honestly. If it can hold above like 47,000, that's where it starts to get interesting. It seems like pretty much all the buy pressure runs out around 47. So we need to see some buyers step in above 47. Do I still think SPX will outperform Qs? I don't think I said that. SPX typically doesn't outperform Qs. Qs will almost always outperform. Qs is more volatile. So typically, whenever they go up together, Qs is going to have a higher percentage increase, and if they go down together, it will have a higher percentage decrease. It will outperform almost all the time, just because of the nature of their holdings. it is more volatile. Going on, Hustle? Pretty much a balanced profile today, slightly bearish. As we can see, most of the volume is trading towards the low. But if we see a nice little bounce here into the close and we stay around like 440, 446, 445.50, somewhere around there, you would be pretty neutral on the day, to be honest. We just need to get a decent close here. So far, looks pretty good with this gap fill. The profile today is almost identical to the profile yesterday, and the price action today is pretty much identical as well. We saw a gap up, that became the high of day, sold off, new lows, new lows, new lows, and then pushed on the close. Literally identical. If this pushes up here into the close, these days will be exactly the same. Definitely not a good sign when you gap up and then that becomes your high of day. Like, we saw the first 15 minutes after the open, we could not put in a new high on any of those candles. That's typically not a good sign. But if we can get a nice reversal here into the close, get back above the 200, and then start holding value above 446, then that will start to be bullish. But anything below 446 at this point is just going to continue lower, sadly. We had some CPI numbers come out today. They were going up, so the consumer prices are still going up, but they were not going up as much as they expected. So it is slowing down a little bit, which is slightly bullish. Bullish for the economy. You're not going to get that inflation price pump on SPY though. Where do I see big resistance on SPY? Is it around 446? 446. There's a lot around 448. But 446 is really the key level that we need to hold above. And we really need to hold on to this price gap that we're testing right now. But if we don't, we do have the savior, the 50-day moving average, which has held us up pretty much the entire way since the COVID bottom. So if we do lose the price gap, you are very close to the 50-day, which would be around 442. So that could save us. If it doesn't save us, that's where we get ugly. Could go down to 435, could go down to 420, somewhere around there, right? But as of right now, you're holding the price gap, so I wouldn't be too bearish. You are putting in a pretty big 5-minute bull div here as well. See if this can bounce us a little bit here. Thoughts on Myrna? Myrna had some calls coming in today, actually. Where are they? Right here. We had a lot of 500s come in today, and we had some 490s for October 8th. As you can see, they're pretty big size, too. A little over a million, 1.5 million. But the stock itself doesn't look too bad. You have a nice little support and resistance flip. So you had like resistance back here. Now we're testing it as support. It looks like a bulldog, to be honest. We have that kind of double bottom, pop up, pull back. So as long as you hold above like 411, looks pretty good, to be honest. Probably run back to 477, 480. Could go back to 520 as that next breakout target. But yeah, the call flow has been coming in, not like repeatedly, but off and on for the past week or so. You are getting a nice little boost there. You obviously had the talks that happened today with Biden. He says that he's trying to put forward like a global policy to get, what did it say, like 70% of the world population vaccinated within a year or something like that. Hey, Internet, what's going on, man? Look at PRE. Let me take a look. There's no PRE on the US market. Do you mean the one on the British market or the one on the Canadian market? What do I think about Dixie? It's going to pretty much be stable until they have more talks about the tapering. Once they have more information about the tapering and like what their plans are, I think Dixie will start to move. But right now, it's not really. It's not going to do anything. I would lean bullish on it because you are flipping massive resistance levels. You have the 200 EMA on the daily being flipped. You have a massive double bottom on the weekly, putting in a nice little bull flag. So I would lean bullish for sure, but it's not moving just yet. Oh, you said it's a crypto? Let me see. Nice little pump recently. Looks like a little 618 retrace as well. Take a look. Yeah, a little 618 retrace popping back up. A little low, honestly. Got a little low there. But if it gets back above like 23 cents, there's not really any resistance in your way. Back to like 30. Doesn't look too bad. 4-hour pivot at 25.6. That could be a little local target as well. A couple of 1-hour pivots above us. Another pivot here at 27. Yeah, so it looks like there's a little bit of resistance around 25 to 27. But after that, really nothing in your way until 30. Nice little bull flag on the low time frames. I'd say as long as it holds on to like 20 cents, 19 cents, doesn't look too bad. Pen, let me take a look. So Pen I liked if it stayed above the 200 EMA. It's not staying above that level, so you're kind of invalidating here. You do have a little bit of support down here on these pivots around 75, but it doesn't look like it's finding any buyers. So if it doesn't quickly bounce back above that 200 EMA, I don't like this trade anymore. The key thing about this trade was seeing that retest of the 200 EMA and bouncing bullishly off of that. You couldn't do that, so this trade is kind of dead for now. You could pull back to kind of retest this little wedge down here. That'd be a little deep. Hold on, Sarish. Basically, to be honest, right now you want to be focusing mainly on the indexes. The indexes are on a very key support. If they don't hold this level, they're going to start selling off rather quickly. So you don't want to be too heavily invested in individual stocks right now. For example, like we just bought Roku yesterday, and Roku's struggling. A lot of these stocks are just not going to do well unless you see some kind of buy pressure on the indexes. So in all honesty, Roku might be our last trade here of the month, unless we see some buy pressure coming in from the indexes. Typically, the second half of September is very bearish. One of the worst 15-day periods of the year. You don't want to be putting too much money out there. So like I said, if we don't see a bounce, that Roku trade might be our last little swing trade here for a while. We'll still scalp ES and do some smaller trades, but as far as building our portfolio up, that might be our last one for September. We need to see the indexes bounce at least like 1% or 2% back up. I bought Roku shares because the options were just not giving me the premium that I wanted. What do I think about Root? Let's take a look. Pretty bad chart, to be honest. Looks like you are continuing this downtrend. Almost a near perfect downtrend, by the way. Could be a massive falling wedge as well. Logarithmic kind of ruins that chart, but if you look at a regular chart, you could see a falling wedge there. Big support on the pivot, which is the all-time low, 525. Lose that pivot, obviously going to go much lower. I would not be bullish on this until you break this trend, though. This trend has been happening for the past year, so there's really no reason to be bullish until that trend is broken. Am I playing any plays on uranium? I am selling puts naked, cash covered on CCJ. That's all I'm doing on uranium currently. Do I do Bitcoin analysis? Yes, I do Bitcoin analysis pretty much every stream. We talked about it earlier. There's not much to really say about Bitcoin right now. You're just ranging. But what I said earlier is you had a nice little wick yesterday, came down to retest the anchored VWAP from the all-time high and from the local low. Beautiful buyer support came in on those anchored VWAPs. Then you had nice confirmation today, pushing you back above the highs of the past 3 days. So it looks good, but the problem is, as we can see in the last week, you lose buy support once you get around 47,000. So until the buyers can start coming in above 47,000, you're safe to sell this high pretty much. Like every single high that pushed above 46 into 47 got sold off, right? So really not interested in Bitcoin until it starts to hold above 47 or you dip down to 39. If it wants to let me buy at 39, I'll very happily buy 39. What are they doing with CCJ, Spartan? There's no trade for long term right now on Bitcoin. There's obviously scalps. You can look at the low time frames. But for more of an investing standpoint, looking at a long term trade, there's nothing really that you could do right now. You're just going to get chopped out. You're either looking to buy the dip or you're looking to buy the hold above that 47 level. Give me 1 second. I'm getting a phone call, guys. Scam, fucking insurance people. He's long CCJ, so if he's long CCJ, he probably has a good entry, most likely, because CCJ has been running for the past few weeks. Uranium has been taking off, so as long as they didn't long yesterday, where they bought the test of the 10-year high, they're looking pretty good. This blue line right here is the 10-year high. Almost 10-year. So if we go back to the high all the way back in February, we have not made a new high since then, right? We just tapped that level and made a new high, I believe. Yeah, you made a new high by like 10 cents. So we made a 10-year high yesterday, and now we're kind of pulling back a little bit. But if you guys read my newsletter that I put out yesterday, or sorry, I think it was today. Here's a link to that. You guys can read what I wrote about. But I wrote about uranium, oil, and shipping. And I posted some articles in that newsletter that talk about what's going on in the uranium world and why uranium is pumping so heavily. If you guys are trading uranium, I highly recommend checking that article out that I posted. Thoughts on a quick call for Friday on Twitter? I haven't looked at Twitter recently, to be honest. So I like where Twitter is hanging out. It's right around the 200 EMA, pretty much to the penny. You do have a little bull div coming in, not confirmed. So it's very similar to Roku. You're sitting on support. You're trying to put in a bull div, but the bull div is not confirmed just yet. So it might be a little early. But if you are buying the 200 EMA test, it's not a bad trade. Buy the 200 EMA test, tight stop loss, doesn't look too bad. But if you're taking short-term trades right now, you need index support. You need the indexes, SPY and Qs to help you out. And they're not helping you right now. The indexes are really struggling to make new highs. So I'm not taking any short-term trades right now because the indexes need to bounce, or short-term trades are going to get buried into the end of September. We have the monthly options expiration coming up. If you guys look back on like the past 4 monthly expirations, they've all led to pullbacks. So we're seeing a pullback into our expiration. And then we also have the test of the gaps, right? So we really need to have these gaps hold, the monthly VWAPs hold, or it's going to get a little bloody. Very dangerous level here for SPY. We need to bounce out of this. Putting in a double bottom on Qs and SPY, but no buyers coming in just yet. Look at how nasty we've been the past few, almost 2 weeks. Just lower high, lower high, lower high all the way. I didn't even notice this, but not only yesterday, did the same thing the day before. So same thing on Friday. Gap up. The gap became the high of day, nuke. Gap up, high day, nuke. Gap up, high day, nuke. Almost the same thing on Thursday. You didn't gap up, but you made the high day very quickly, and then you nuked. So brutal, brutal, brutal sell pressure coming in. Past 4 days of trading action have all put their high days in the first hour of the day, and they've sold off for the rest of the day. Not looking good. It's trying to push this level here. Oh, here we go. Little buyers coming in. We just need to see a higher low. We're putting in higher highs, but we can't create a new trend. Pretty much the entire past few days we've been seeing this. Give me a second. I'm going to lower my desk. You can see this dotted line right here. This is the monthly VWAP, the one that we just put in of August, excuse me. And we're hovering right below it, so a little weak. But if we go back, you can see all these little sell-offs. They seemed like they were the end of the world, but they all bounced either on the monthly VWAP or above the monthly VWAP. You had one little nasty chop right there in May, but then as soon as you reclaim the monthly VWAP, you pushed higher. So this is kind of the line in the sand that we need to stay above. And looking back, even when we did sell off, I don't think a single, okay, besides October, this right here, October, this is the only time during the entire push up from COVID that we ended up putting in a lower monthly VWAP. So let me hide these other levels. You see how even during the sell-off, we closed the month with an increasing VWAP. So increased, increased there. Little pullback there, but then all the way up every single time. Put in a higher month every single time. So what does that tell us? That tells us since the bottom of COVID, even during these nasty pullbacks, we have still always recovered and put in a higher monthly VWAP close. Okay, so if we go back to now, what are we? We're about halfway through the month. Let me turn on the current VWAP. This is the current VWAP. So in order for us to put in a lower VWAP, this current VWAP would have to nuke below 444 almost by the end of the month. So 2 weeks. So 2 weeks, this thing would have to go straight down basically. And it's just very, very unlikely. How unlikely? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. So we've had 18 monthly closes since the low of COVID, and only one of them, and just barely, was it able to put in a lower monthly VWAP. So what is that percentage? 1 out of 18. It's like 7%. Let me see. 1 divided by 18. 5.5. 5.5%. Let me actually, let's pull that up. This is kind of how we've been reacting to the monthly VWAP the entire time. We had a little bit of sideways action. Once we had this nasty candle right here, bearish retest, bearish retest, bearish retest. Now we're getting ugly because now we're putting in like lower highs that are nowhere even near VWAP. That was the election month in October. Yeah, it got a little choppy there. One thing to note, though, is the monthly VWAP. It's very slow typically, but we're not seeing it dramatically follow price. So we're not getting an awful lot of sell pressure down here. We're getting a little ugly here. There's just no buyers stepping in. We've been talking about this IWM daily bulldog, and funny enough, it's still playing out. It's still valid. So really, as long as you hold this pivot here, you're valid. So hold above like 219. This will still technically be a bullish reversal. If the double bottom, pop up, pull back. The pullback is a little deep, but it can't go any lower. So as long as it stays above like 219, this could be a very bullish retrace. But if you lose 219, then it's going to be a complete retrace. Probably go down to fill the gap around 215, and then retest the 200 around 212. But for now, looks pretty decent. And if it does bounce, typically IWM does lead a little bit. So we could bounce early on IWM, and then it could pull SPY and Qs up as well. Wow, I mentioned Smile Direct earlier because it was up like 10%. It's actually red now. I think it's down like 5%. Let's see. Wow, yeah, down almost 5%. Look at that. It was up 10, almost 11% on the high, and now we're down 5. It's pretty bad. This is the sector analysis here. You can see the sectors are almost all red. The only thing green is gold, and it's barely green. Even my watch list is blood red. Snow and Airbnb trying to stay up. Airbnb is still up about 2% today, so it didn't do too bad. Even our shippers are red. You know the market's bad when the shipping companies are red, when they've been going straight up for like 2 months. They are actually getting pretty close to hitting my trailing stop. So if we don't see any buy pressure come in the next day or two, I'm probably going to take profit on my shippers. And they're all up like 30%. So it's going to be a very nice gain. Pretty weak close on Roku. This might be a little scary here. We bought this yesterday on the pivot bounce. And if you guys remember what I said on stream, typically you would want to wait for confirmation. And this is exactly why. You would want to wait for like a day of confirmation to see if you get some buyers when you buy pivot tests like this. The problem with Roku is when it bounces very quickly. So if you wait for confirmation, that could be a 5 or 10% day and you missed the entire move. So we went ahead and bought shares without confirmation. But we left some room to add. So if it does come back and hold above this level, we could add on to our shares. What time is it? I gotta end stream a little early here in the next like 5 minutes. We'll see how how SPY closes here. This pullback from the high is less than 3%, so it feels like this is a pretty nasty pullback. But the last week or two, it's only 2.5%. Not that bad of a pullback, to be honest. Now, if it goes to the next gap, that'd be pretty bad, another 2%. I like the way it's holding this level. It's holding this gap pretty well here. It's got almost a perfect falling wedge here on the 5-minute. Very clean. This is one of our favorite reversal patterns too. The bull div into the falling wedge like this. If it can break this wedge, this looks pretty good, to be honest. What do I think about oil? Oil looks pretty good. I wrote about oil in the newsletter as well. I talked about how there was a lot of funds buying oil. They're loading back up on their oil contracts. So this smart money is shifting to being bullish on oil again. So as long as you don't have any bad OPEC news, you should be pretty bullish on oil. But all right, guys, I got to end the stream 50 minutes early here. I got to get out of my house real quick. So I appreciate you guys being here as always. If you guys are in the Discord, I have to postpone the analysis to later tonight. So be on the lookout for the analysis probably sometime around like 7 or 8 o'clock. But it shouldn't be too late. But normally I do it right after stream, so we're going to have to push it back a little bit. Another thing for you guys, if you guys haven't already, we just launched our newsletter today, 100% free. If you guys want to sign up to that, there is the link. What I'm going to be posting in the newsletter is stuff like fundamental analysis, like sector analysis, things that I find that are very interesting, like any supply crunches happening, any call flow, stuff like that. It's going to be more so related to like fundamentals and data than technicals. So if you guys are interested in reading about stuff like that, go ahead and sign up. Like I said, it's free. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button as well. If you guys are new to trading, make sure to check out my How to Trade playlist on YouTube. About 25 videos on that playlist teaching you all my different techniques. So make sure to check that out. But all right, guys. You guys come back tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern. I'll be streaming for the rest of the week, same time, 3 p.m. Eastern. So I'll see you guys then. If you guys are in Discord, like I said, be on the lookout for the analysis sometime around 7, 8 o'clock. All right, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. You guys have a good rest of your day.